this video start, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on all notifications, and finally, post a comment in the comment section that you subscribe.
You'll find in these deaths are just coins that let you buy in-game objects. Yay. It's also worth noting that upon each playthrough, each room is randomized, preventing each playthrough from being the same as the last, which is also pretty nice too. So what's the gameplay like? Well, as I've said before, the game has you go through each room, opening door to door, and... yeah, so as it turns out, there isn't really anything outside of the gameplay other than just opening doors. So after going through hell and back to open each room, once you open door 100, you have to unlock an elevator while the spooky man looks around. Once you get a key and turn on the power, you can finally get in the elevator and leave. And yeah, that's basically it. While I will say that the controls and the looks of the game are very well made, there isn't really much past that, as the gameplay is just opening door to door while you hide from various monsters. I mean, it's not just doors. You also go through things like vents too, but you get my idea. I mean, at least it was better than some other titles. Like I said, it's very clear that there was some actual effort put into this. And hey, this game is an alpha, so I guess it's bound to improve. So while I'm still not personally scared of it, it might as well be the closest thing to the scariest game on Roblox, since a lot of people seem to agree. Try to be scary. So the next game I'll be playing is Survive SpongeBob the Killer. Now before I start, I know but I figure I talk about this side of the games because they're everywhere. What is it? Well, according to its description, the game says, SpongeBob the Killer is now at my own game. This game is fun, have free gear, skins, and everything new. Halloween update, join now. What? Another interesting piece of trivia is that the game got created last year, and yet it was updated not too long ago in August. And the thumbnail is just straight up a default Roblox picture. Seems that we're gonna have to go into the game itself to get any information. And after that, the gameplay was just basically the exact same as every other Survive the Killer game. So what's the deal with Survive the Blank? Well, the idea of it is obviously having you survive some entity. Again, the one I chose was SpongeBob, but look up any other character and you'll find it. I decided to choose SpongeBob since, I don't know, The maps of these survival games also like to revolve around this tree as a key feature to it. I don't know exactly why this is, as I don't map for Roblox, but it's most likely because this is a default preset when making maps. Some other features that these survival games have in common is a generic blue sky, a grassy flat map, and tons of skins for you to equip. Oh, and of course the most common thing all these... like for instance, the developer of the map I'm playing on decided to spawn in a bunch of props down to the ground, where you'll find things like SpongeBob's house floating, the Krusty Krab, and this Halloween street, and yeah, that's the entire game. There's nothing to it, but it makes sense as... In fact, let's actually go to different SpongeBob the Killer games and see what they have to offer. However, spawning in, it actually just led me to a tycoon, so I left shortly afterwards. Some SpongeBob houses. SpongeBob himself was headless for some reason, and naturally he tried to kill me the moment I spawned in. Conclusion, most of the Survive the Killer titles are just brainless games featuring a brainless monster. The next game we'll be playing is the Horror Mansion, which unsurprisingly puts you inside of a mansion and has you hide from spooky monsters. Made by Rat's Jumper, the game was made back in 2019 and has a total visit count of 24 million. The description is pretty vague, with it just simply reading the twisted side of the horror mansion. Mostly the unsettling killers arrive. I don't know what that means, but let's just play it. Basically, the premise of the game is that over time, various monsters spawn in, and you have to hide from them for a certain period of time. These monsters range from creatures like Lost Silver, Ravager, or even SCP-096. though they all behave in the same way. As for equipment, you are given a flashlight, and that's about it. Because the main problem with this game is that the monster's AI is broken. Really broken. For whatever reason, the behavior of the monsters are dumb, in that they'll chase players even if there's something blocking the way. These objects mostly consist of things like walls, windows, and doors. Because of this, the meta for every single round is managing to get the monster stuck, which is surprisingly easy, making the game not about actually surviving, and instead it's just brainless popcorn gameplay, as everyone stands around. Sometimes they're even in the ceiling too, like what? Even if the monster's AI wasn't broken, there's still another huge problem with the game, in that you don't actually die exactly. Eventually, I actually managed to get around where the monster wasn't stuck, and managed to kill me and a bunch of other people, but then we just respawned after we died. So what's the point? Naturally, with most games like these, the monster would usually kill you and you would have to wait out spectating until the round ends. But not here though. Once the monster kills you, you just respawn like nothing happened, making the game even more brainless as there's no longer an incentive to hide if you can just respawn endlessly. Of course, this does mean you'll miss out on the one reward this game gives you, a survival counter. But in my experience, even if I survived the monster without dying, I still somehow didn't survive since the counter didn't go up. So like, what's the point? How impact as you could just respawn. And even if you survived, the counter might be glitched and wouldn't count you in. So this game is doomed to just being a terrible glitchy mess. So for the next game, let's take a look at one called Smile, which hardly is even a game at all, but I'll explain that later. Interestingly, the only thing that the description said is /ePrey, with a collective visits of over 16 million, and the ratings almost being half and half. Oh no. So with all that information out of the way, we can now load it. The first in chambers of incoherent textures. But if that sounds scary to you, trust me, the game doesn't do much with these ideas. In this floating room right here, you naturally have to jump on each piece in order to, well, not fall. But then eventually the blocks stop, and I didn't know what to do past that. It was only until this guy started floating that I realized I could progress just by simply being God. And after that, I was then teleported into a room where the game told me to run. But in spite of that, I didn't run, and nothing happened. There was nothing chasing me, so I don't know why it's telling me to run. Next area. But where is it? Is it over here by this ritual thing? No. Is it somewhere over here by these pillars? No. Do I have to end up going back? No, you don't. I thought I was stupid in not figuring out where to go, but thankfully it seemed as though everyone else was confused. It was only until I saw this figure that it clicked for me. In order to progress, you had to slip through the cracks of these stairs, and somehow end up no-clipping into a wall. Excellent game design. And once you go through this room, you are teleported all the way back from where you started. And that was the entire game. Wait, what? What was the objective? What was the purpose of going through all these rooms? Spooky Trevor Henderson monsters. Looking at the ratings, it appears that exactly 1/4 of the votes said they didn't like it, which will soon make sense. And the description just simply states this game is in beta and lists off the monsters. So, but then when I rejoined into another match, the doors did actually open. So I don't know what that was all about. The monsters in this game are interesting to say the least. They don't particularly have the best pathfinding, and will more often than not get stuck on most things. But not only that, they also have a huge load of health. Again, that's about it. And in the starting area is this really cubic cave that 90% of the players were in. So what's the point of most of the map? And as for the map, there doesn't actually appear to be a goal really, since at the very end of the map is a city that doesn't harbor anything. Further behind, there's a forest with a couple of watchtowers, but again, that's about it. And in the starting area is this really cubic cave that 90% of the players were in. So what's the point of most of the map? And yeah, that's about it. To conclude, this game gives you guns on unkillable enemies, and puts you in a huge open map with basically no objective. I mean, maybe this game will get better since at the moment it's in beta, but the last update this game got was over a year ago, so it doesn't look like this game will be changed anytime soon. The next game we'll be playing is 3 Nightmares, where you go around various levels and have to complete some puzzles. For this game, I decided to bring my friend Face Floyd into this.
You have a very lovely eyes.
Let me tell you a story.
No.
Now, unlike most of the games we've been playing up to this point, this game does put up some pretty decent horror design. Remember how I said Doors is the closest thing to an actual horror game in Roblox? Well, this is a close second. Spawning in, after walking down this hallway, you are given 3 rooms to go in. That being either Lonely House. Another problem that this game has is that it's too dark. Now, I know that darkness is supposed to be a horror element in most games, but Christ, even with the flashlight on, I just couldn't see a dang thing. And it also didn't help that the screen had an annoying static effect. Thankfully, we realized that we could disable it in options and quickly turned it off. But even then, the maps were still really hard to see. So back in December of 2021, along with the mobile horror game sequel, I made a video called Awful Slenderman Games. But here's the thing, while I do think the concept of that video was fairly decent, the problem is that that video kinda sucks. So today, almost a year later, I want to return back to that video subject and remaster it with an epic sequel. So as usual, I will find many of these games. Some of the games range from simply not being scary. So without further ado, come join me, as let's take a look at some more awful Slenderman games. So the first game I'll be playing is Slenderman and Backrooms Scary. This game puts you in the backrooms, and we have to escape from the spooky Slenderman. Reading the stats on the App Store, made by Jailson Cavalcante, the game only managed to get 1 rating that rounds up to a 3.0, with the only reviews saying, "Suggestion: make the pages a little easier to find and make Slenderman not spawn until you get the first page. And the more pages you collect, the more he appears. Also, make it an actual Slender Death static screen. And on top of that, please don't have Slenderman walk towards the player, he teleports." But yeah, a lot of the flaws I'll point out in this game will also, make it an actual Slender Death static screen. And on top of that, please don't have Slenderman walk towards the player, he teleports. But yeah, a lot of the flaws I'll point out in this game will be based on what the review said. And the description reads, "Face..." And oh my goodness, a bit of the title is clipped. It gives us a dialogue. "You and Slender have fallen into the backrooms. Now you need to find all 8 pages to escape." Huh. So the first problem I have with this game is, like the review said, Slenderman is already coming for you. Now, this is kind of strange, because you start running away from him. And also, Slenderman doesn't teleport once in this game. He merely just walks at you, and if you get too close to him, you die. Because of this makes the game really hard. Try and find 8 pages in a map with no landmarks or features to it really makes the game all more confusing, boring, and long. I've said that it severely lacks in a gameplay setting, as it's nothing more than just a glorified maze simulator. But yeah, that's basically it. Once you collect all the 8 pages, you win. In conclusion, Backrooms Slenderman bad. Playing is Slender in City Horror, which unsurprisingly puts you inside of a city and has you collect some notes. Looking at the App Store, This game has a mere 2 ratings that rounds up to a 2.5, with the 2 reviews saying either amazing but or this is awful, with the description saying Slender in the City horror game in which only the courage to help you. Do you like horror? You think you're brave? Try not to fall into the clutches of Slender and collect as many points as possible. Attention, the game is very scary. Is not for the faint of heart. Oh goodness, is that right? Well guys, I'm sorry to say this, but to the people watching this that have the faint of heart, please don't watch any further. Yeah, no. So before beginning the game, you get to choose what type of Slenderman goes after you. And wait a minute, are those just IRL human hands? So this in theory is a good concept. And we have to go find 10 notes lying around the city. However, unlike the original where the pages had writing on it, these notes are just empty PNGs of paper. Great. Also lying around the map are the many PNGs of batteries that you can use to restore your flashlight. Now, Slenderman in this game is pretty bad. What a surprise. He actually does properly teleport in this game, unlike the one in the back rooms. But the problem is that he can only kill you if you stare at him, meaning you can be an inch next to him and he still won't kill you since you have to look at him. But if you choose to look at him for a few seconds, then you'll die shortly after. And it doesn't matter how far away you are from him. Even if you can't see past the rendering chunks, he'll still kill you. The movement in this game is also incredibly janky. The sensitivity is too high with no way to change it, and you're always constantly running. Though I'm not really complaining about that since this map is huge. But anyways, after finally collecting the 10th page, the screen says you win. And that's it. Really? There's nothing else to this? Huh. Well then, time to give this game a review. The third game we'll be playing is Slenderman's Forest, which is probably going to be the best game we'll look at in here, but with that being said, it's not that great. This game has over 1,000 ratings that rounds up to a 4.2, which is surprising. There's even a preview shot that states how it's the closest game on the App Store to the original, with the description stating, "Introducing Slenderman's Forest. Slenderman's Forest, the most terrifying Slenderman experience on the App Store. Collect all the pages to escape from the Slenderman. Can you do it before the Slenderman gets you?" Wow, so at first glance, this game would seem to be pretty decent. And like I said, it's probably the most polished game we'll look at in this video. But despite that, it still has a lot of issues. So loading in, you were allowed to choose from 6 different maps, with the first 2 just being the exact same level, and the others include things like cities, warehouses, and more forests. So the first problem I have with this game is that it's a tad bit pay to win. When you make contact with Slenderman, you have this energy bar with you that goes down the moment you look at him, and once it's all gone, you die. One time on the warehouse map, Slenderman got bugged and started staring at a wall, and continued to stay there for the rest of the round. Also on the forest map, he spawned outside the boundaries and started floating in midair. For some reason, if you're at a distance from certain objects, they'll just disappear. This isn't bad on maps like Warehouse where it's all indoors, but in maps like the forest, places where the pages are will be completely out of sight once you get far enough. Meaning you have to estimate where some locations are, which isn't fun. And also, like I said in the last game, the movement and controls feel janky as well. However, in contrast to the fast movement and high sensitivity, this game slows you down to a crawl and makes you turn really slowly. Probably a glitch. And of course, there's the usual bugs like texture overlapping, and being able to see Slenderman without him hurting you. I will give this game credit for at least trying to be somewhat decent, but all the problems that I've discussed before really Conclusion, stop having me pay for basic features. Alright, so the last game I'll be looking at is Virtual Slender Simulator. Slender Virtual Simulator. A game application is a joke where you can chat with a terrible Slender.
It's like a schizo who's anxious and split like a gymnast's legs. Cause if I get wind that you gangsters are faking, I'm a storm and rain on your parade. I'm abrasive, I'm dangerous,
You are just bored and lonely, then our app for you. Dang, alright. This game thinks I'm lonely. Well then, let's go talk to Slenderman, shall we? Has 3 contacts from Slenderman. Not sure why he has 3 accounts, but whatever. And as you might imagine, the DMs between me and Slender were about as alien as possible. Hey.
I know where you are!
Where? Answer me. Want a date? You're so stupid.
Turn around!
I did. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really know.
These giant pillars of poo. I think I see something in the background there. No! Those are the same pillars I was just at! Ah! Get me!
Slenderman is probably one of, if not the most iconic horror antagonist in any horror game ever. Sure, there are other popular rivals like Five Nights at Freddy's, Herobrine, or Baldi's Basis, but for the most even kickstarting a handful of YouTube careers. The original Slenderman title is still a really scary game to play even after all these years. But you know, isn't all of these abominations? Yeah, it really shouldn't be a surprise on this channel that I think spooky mobile games aren't, well, spooky. The first game we're going to be playing is Slenderman: The Kid Room. Looking at the App Store, this game has managed to receive 18 ratings for a 4.1 on the App Store. This game is like Son of the 8 Pages, but an absolute fever dream. This game features an extremely low FOV, bright colors, Angry Birds, and a large room. You have to collect 8 pages that are pink all around this extremely large map. While Slenderman chases you, at times Slenderman will just float, and others he would just sink into the ground. You get this annoying pop-up that says to either restart or go home. Because this is the button to move you, you will often get these annoying pop-ups when you play the game. The only way Slenderman can kill you is if you look at him, so you can be right on top of him and he won't be able to do anything at all. This game, having an extremely low FOV, makes this game unnecessarily claustrophobic and not fun to play at all. The game also features really spooky jump scares that can make you cry in true terror, like this PNG right here.
This is it, Spidey. Gotta come up with something. That sound. Those ray thingies must be sonically powered. Sonic's on. Gotta raise the pitch.
Found the map thematically to make no sense. I mean, why are we in a room the size of an ant while Slenderman chases us around? Thankfully, there's a reason for this. The legend here is that you play a girl who is in a coma and is unable to wake up in a dreamlike state. I'll let you read the rest because the story is just so long and convoluted. The second game we're going to be playing is Slender Rising. Looking at the App Store, this game has 805 ratings that rounds up to a 4.1 on the App Store. The most professional looking one of the bunch, functioning pretty much identically to Slender the 8 Pages with a few key
Ooby, ooby, ooby feet. Ooby, ooby, ooby feet. Ooby, ooby, ooby feet. What's the sock say?
When you spot a sign, there's a little arrow telling you where exactly it is, which is a very nice mechanic. Because most of this map is just kind of the same, it is very nice that there's a little guiding system on where the pages are. And one element you don't see in the original game is having to swipe the screen to escape Slenderman's wrath. When I on the screen to walk around, so I had to quickly change it to a joystick. I don't know why that's on default. As usual, we have to collect 8 of these signs in order to win. They can be found on walls, trucks, shacks, as well as abandoned houses and buildings. The signs say really cool messages like this, and as well as this. Slenderman doesn't actually appear that much in the game, only appearing like 3 or 4 times throughout my playthrough. There's not too much to talk about this game, unlike the last game where it was next game. The third game we're going to be playing is Slender Run, where you yourself are Slenderman and you have to commit manslaughter and terrorism to win the game. Starts out as a puny, weak baby, but by collecting skulls and bats and eating the souls of the damned, you become level 100 Mafia Slenderman boss, and ranks you by how much genocide you committed. There are many obstacles in the way though, like these red boxes, spinning things, and saw blades. But as a Slenderman, look at these innocent, oblivious NPCs. Aren't those people that you want to kill? If you said yes to this question, then you go ahead and kill them with your tentacles. At one point, Slenderman could even grapple onto a platform and kill humans and collecting bats at the same time. This is basically what you do for every single level of the game's entire life. The game also gives you a rank on top of you, to show how awesome you are, like freaky, horrible, and at the very top, monster. No matter how many times I committed downright genocide on everyone around me, I couldn't get higher than a 2.4. And without any new elements to spice up the gameplay, this game gets really boring. Welp, time to put you in the void. Bye bye. The last game we're going to be playing is Slenderman Sci-Fi City Free. You might notice that this game looks a lot like the first game we played, and that's because it was made by the same developer, so this is going to be interesting. The App Store shows that this game has 33 ratings for a 4.3 on this game, but no reviews though. Yet again, this game thematically is just a pure fever dream. If this is what Michael thinks the future is like, then I'd rather stay in Europe in the 1300s than whatever this is. There are none on this map. I swear, I've looked everywhere around this map and I just couldn't find anything. The next map I chose gave me better luck. Here we are on the city streets, where I could see many pages on the floors and walls. Unlike the last game though, where you just have to tap the screen to collect it, this game requires you to double tap the screen, and even that doesn't work. Even after collecting all the pages, I don't know the proper way to collect them. Some would just stay there no matter how many times I pressed it, some of them instantly went away after I tapped it once, and others required you to move in a weird way. But once again, the only way Slenderman can kill me is if you look at him. And those are going to be all the Slenderman games we're going to be playing today. At best, some of these games are okay, and at worst, they were just terrible pieces of garbage. It is interesting to note that Slender the Arrival got its own mobile port, so this renders all mobile Slendy games redundant. So overall, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. There's nothing to it, but it makes sense as the game is just more of a testing ground than anything else. And it also makes sense why there's so many different versions of Survive the Killer. It's the horror equivalent of a Roblox hobby. It's easy to make and there's no challenge or goal to it. I mean, think of it. Why spend literal months putting effort into a horror game with its gameplay and uniqueness, when all you can do to begin a map is use this tree preset, throw in a monster of some kind, add some props and skins, and boom, you have a full game. In fact, let's actually go to different SpongeBob the Killer games and see what they have to offer. The second SpongeBob game is again called Survive SpongeBob the Killer, with the description just being downright insane. However, spawning in, it actually just led me to a tycoon, so I left shortly afterwards. The third one is called Survive SpongeBob, where instead of a tree map, it's actually just a flat sand texture with some SpongeBob houses. SpongeBob himself was headless for some reason, and naturally he tried to kill me the moment I spawned in. This one I can't even play as it's restricted. And the last SpongeBob game took me to a tree map where the monster was instead Jason, and now we're in space. But yeah, in conclusion, most of the Survive the Killer titles are just brainless games featuring a brainless monster, with the map usually harboring a treehouse, a ton of skins, and other crap. Again, I know these games aren't really supposed to be horrifying exactly. Hell, I even played one of these games back in part 1 and got criticized for it. But nonetheless, these games exist, and it's best I talk about every form of Roblox horror games, whether they're halfway decent or not. The next game we'll be playing is the Horror Mansion, which unsurprisingly puts you inside of a mansion and has you hide from spooky monsters. Creatures like Lost Silver, Ravager, or even SCP-096, though they all behave in the same way. As for equipment, you are given a flashlight and that's about it. So, sounds pretty simple, right? Well, as you'll soon learn, the game's meta isn't exactly about hiding per se, because the main problem with this game is that the monster's AI is broken. Really broken. For whatever reason, the behavior of the monsters are dumb, in that they'll chase players even if there's something blocking the way. Of course, this does mean you'll miss out on the one reward this game gives you, a survival counter. But in my experience, even if I survived the monster without dying, I still somehow didn't survive since the counter didn't go up. So like, what's the point, hello? So there you have it. A horror game where the meta is just choosing an AI, that even if killed you would have no impact as you could just respawn. And even if you survived, the counter might be glitched and wouldn't count you in. And after that, I was then teleported into a room where the game told me to run. But in spite of that, I didn't run, and nothing happened. There was nothing chasing me, so I don't know why it's telling me to run. Regardless, I continued moving, and ended up in this place where the only monster in the game appears. So over the course of the last few months, a new internet trend has started to take place in Gmod, that being Nextbots. Now, despite the simple premise of random images just chasing you around the map, the recent trend following these guys has completely taken over the internet by storm. So much so to the point where developers have now made games solely about these strange netbox figures. And while most of the games featuring it are okay, I guess. So the first game I'll be playing is Nico the Scary Ghost. Okay, so despite the Nextbox originating from Gmod, this one is attempting to base it off of the Roblox version, saying bots are the next generation. Find the secret room in the mall by collecting all the secret message to pass the level. There are no reviews in sight. So, loading in, I immediately noticed that, wait a minute, the objective of this game is literally the exact same as another game I played last week. Plus, there's a bunch of other problems too, like textures overlapping, and the bot, which is just the nerd emoji, doesn't even work half the time, and will either get its pathfinding stuck, or just straight up no-clip through things. Oh, and also, you don't even have to collect all the letters to win. You just need one, and boom, you're good. There's also a flashlight in this game that drains battery really fast. And you need to replenish it by grabbing new ones off the floor. Sound familiar? Looking at the updates, it does seem like they're trying to iron out the game, I guess. But seriously, there's no point in playing this game. Just go play Gmod to mess around with the next bots, and if you don't have that, then just play the Roblox one. Why does this exist? Who plays this? But honestly, that's about all I got for this game. It's boring, unfinished, and sucks. That's what this game is. It sucks. Don't play it. The second game I'll be playing is a Bunga Nextbox game. A game where, unlike Gmod, you go around with a gun killing PNGs of spooky images. Whatever. Instead of the Nextbox immediately knowing where you are, they wander around this parking lot until you get too close to them, to which they'll do a really weird Really? See, what made the OG Nextbox scary is the fact that they never stop chasing you. Slow, really goofy, and don't even one-shot you if they attack you. The guns that you use in this game are pretty weak. Not only do they run out of ammo really quick, but you have to find them via passing through a dozen of the PNGs. Wow. It's another piggy map. But yeah, that's about all I have to say for this game. It's janky, unscary, and just an overall mess of a game. Don't play this game. The third game on my list is Escape Nextbox Bunga. They are either associated with Piggy for whatever reason, and this game does both. You're put into some strange enclosed map with a bunch of Piggy models, and you have to survive a bunga while trying to collect 10 pages. And holy crap, what is this menu? Why is every single button moving? During around collecting keys, wrenches, and hammers. I wonder where I've heard that from. There is a difficulty in this game from easy to hard, But regardless of what you choose, Abunga is extremely slow. There are And finally, our last game leads us to Nextbot Abunga Friends. Nextbot Abunga Friends are chasing you. Copies a lot of Gmod's mechanics, where you're faster if you jump. And unlike the last games, this one actually behaves how you would expect. A random PNG that chases you no matter where you are. You're also able to crouch in this game, but even then, it's extremely hard to get into vents. Now, one thing I don't get why they added is that when the next spot is near you, it starts draining your health at a distance, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And it's in your best interest you don't die, because if you do die, you'll be getting an unskippable ad. I also love how if you choose easy mode, then this game will call you a nerd. And that's pretty much all there is to this game. I will admit, this game sticks close to what Nextbots were all about. But the only issue is that 1. This game is no longer scary because of the music and ads. 2. Half the game session is watching ads. And 3. Just go play the Gmod or Roblox version. This is like the 4th time I've said it, but who plays this? Why on earth are there people out there who would ditch Gary's Mod or Nico's Nextbots and instead want to play Nextbot Abunga Friends? There are people out there, and I'll find you 2 nerds who rated this a 5-star. You think this is a joke? Watch me. I'll find wherever you 2 people are. Don't think you can hide from me. Oh, and before I move on, I would like to inform you that Sournale the Blobfish has become marketable. Yep, you heard it here. I now have cozy shirts and hats for you to wear, at a fairly cheap price. Cold. And they also come in different color variants. So go get yourself a Sournale merch item, as buying these will help me make more video. It's weird looking at them now in 2022 as nothing more than a trend. It's a shame too because nowadays Nextbots are extremely divided. Everyone either really loves it for its horror, or really hates it for its trendy nature, etc. And like all trends, the Nextbots will come and go, never to be heard again in the public eye. So over the course of my channel's history, I have made a lot of... However, after looking at my stash of previous videos, I had soon come to the realization that maybe except for the Slendytubbies video, I haven't given a single video game a positive spotlight. And especially mobile horror games. Which does make sense because, well, look at this. However, for every 1,000 crappy mobile games out there, one great one tends to stand out from the rest. And it seems that a lot of the comments would like me to speak about them. So today, I'll be going back on the App Store, but as a spin-off, I'll be showing you horror games that aren't terrible. So what does a good mobile horror game look like? Well, one of the first games I immediately thought of was Eyes, a game that has you go around collecting cash money while running away from a spooky head. But despite the modest premise, I'm sure well over 90% of you have at least heard of this game. And boy, was it scary. Looking at the App Store, this game has managed to near 10,000 ratings with a 4.6. As for the reviews, they're very positive, saying things like, "This game is okay, but I still love it," "Best horror game on mobile," and "I have nostalgia for this game." With the description reading, you break into the mansion at night. It's huge and built like a maze. You're trying to escape, but the monster is after you. Alright, so with all that out of the way, we can now move on into the game. And yeah, the gameplay is just good. A little bit like Slender, the objective is for you to collect 20 bags of coins, which is scattered over 3 layers of a mansion. One interesting element that this game has is for you to be able to see where the monster is. You can do this by finding eyes all over the walls. There are other things too, like bottles of poison, but they're merely used for notes, which its only purpose is for lore building, which is really neat. And the idea of the monster is just amazing. Having a floating head chase you around a mansion is incredibly eerie. Oh, and also, this game runs really well, which is rare for a mobile game, so bonus points for that. But yeah, that's about all this game has to offer. Thankfully, the game isn't overly complicated as it's a rather simple game. Once you collect all the money, you find the escape area and leave, and that's it. There are a few noticeable problems like the linear map design, a lack of replayability, and a bunch of microtransactions. But as long as you can ignore that and view this game, it's scary. Overall, I highly recommend you play this game if you haven't. The second mobile horror game is Granny. Description reads, "Welcome to Granny. Granny keeps you locked in her house. Now you have to try and get out of her house, but be careful and quiet. She hears everything." And looking at the lore of the game, you probably already know what it is. You walk out into a forest, spooky grandma hits you, and now you have to find a way to escape.
AKA Moist Critical's favorite video game to speedrun. Please react to my videos, Moist Critical. Granny video game features an unnamed protagonist trapped in a house needing to solve puzzles while avoiding the granny antagonist to get out of the house in a time period of only 5 to 6 days. This game is somewhat based on the Granny Ripper, an old Russian lady who murdered 13 people. A family discovered a trash bag with somebody's dismembered torso in their apartment complex. Checking the security cameras, you do see Tamara Samsonova, aka the Granny Ripper, dragging a trash bag with the torso. You can also see her with a pot, and it is claimed that inside the pot is the victim's head and lungs. You would never think that a grandma can ever do these kind of stuff. Well, it gets worse. When investigators entered her place, they saw a large knife covered in blood in the kitchen. Also, blood was splattered all over the bathroom as well. And police also found her diary, which inside is astrology and even black magic. In the diary, the Granny Ripper would write descriptive murders that she has committed dating back 20 years ago. One entry even described her most recent murder, which she was caught for, which was cutting her neighbor's body into pieces while putting them into plastic bags. It is also assumed that she was a cannibal, considering she would talk about cannibalism in her diary. When she was arrested, she was openly willing to confess to all of her crimes that she did in the past, and she is now locked up in prison, and she will also die in prison.
Now, usually I don't get scared of the appearance of Granny, but occasionally I actually managed to get scared when she popped out of nowhere. One of the only issues I have with this game is that you can only hold one item at a time, but even then, that's not really a problem and more of just a preference. You can definitely tell the game had a lot of love and effort put into it, which is an element a lot of mobile games are missing surprisingly. And even after 5 years of this game being out, they are still updating the game to this day. Impressive. Going in depth with the gameplay, because I'm sure you already know everything about it. The game is challenging, decent, but yeah, on to the next game. The third game I'm going to be playing is The Bathrooms. So out of all of the 4 games, this one is going to be the shortest, with the gameplay just clocking in at 5 minutes. It's an incredibly simple game, but with that being said, I found it to be really unnerving. The description of this game is pretty plain, saying just bathroom vibes, wander around dark halls of urinals collecting strange cubes. The farther away something is, the more incoherent it becomes. But here's the catch. There isn't even a single monster. And the last game I'll be playing is Midnight Remastered, a far more underrated game with just 14 ratings of a 4.1. Unlike the last 3 games, this one takes place in 2D. Really good. 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 Really good.
No more. No. Stop it. More.
Really good. Matter of fact, the lighting is probably better than Granny and I's alike. And speaking of lighting, you'll need it. Because the gimmick of this game is that you always need to have some light in your candle, otherwise you'll die.
Oh, here we go. Oh, here it comes.
This is a mixed bag. It's an incredibly unique take on how the monster kills you, but the only issue is that it can get unnecessarily hard at times. So if you are low on light and you can't find a match, you're pretty much screwed. There's also no way to save your progress, so if you die, you'll have to restart the whole way back. And you win. Overall, the game itself was spooky, but a tad bit flawed. But it is incredibly underrated, so I highly recommend you give this a go. Just move on now. And that was... But other than that, I couldn't find any other scary games to talk about. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, it seems that every month the internet always gets a new meme for people to enjoy themselves with. A meme that at the moment seems like the most funniest thing on the planet, only for it to become saturated and forgotten within the weeks following.
It's morbid time.
And this is true. Following the late 2010s, new memes on average couldn't really seem to last for more than 2 weeks, and only a month at best. Because of this, with the exception of a few select unaging memes, the internet always has to end up adapting to the constant change of what we find funny. This does give each year a distinct amount of variety within each meme. It more often than not ends up making us question what we found funny.
Yo, chat, why this game so fun, chat?
The next new meme that hit the shelves was the uncanny feelings of the Mr. Incredibles. A meme that was incredibly well formatted for its time. It was a joke that could essentially have infinite variety. It was funny, it was relatable, and it was neat. That's the new year. Except it did. Despite everyone's initial exhaustion with the Incredibles meme, it appeared to have stuck through following the months, with new forms taking place like Mr. Incredibles becoming canny, for instance. And while everyone found this all incredibly surprising, people would eventually start to get incredibly tired of the meme by spring. Once the main trend of Mr. Incredibles died down, what was left was a select few channels that continued to milk the meme. There are hundreds of channels milking this meme, if not thousands as we speak. But with that being said, one sole channel sticks out from the rest. And I'm sure you've heard of it before. This is a channel that's seen as nothing more than a deplorable annoyance. A channel so utterly unfunny it has been made into the subject of other meme channels, mocking the user for the sake of their own comedy. This is the channel of Mr. Dweller. To understand why Mr. Dweller is as hated as he is, we have to understand what exactly his content contains. Looking on the outside, Mr. Dweller seems to be a surprisingly popular YouTuber, having gotten over 75,000 subscribers as of the time of recording this. But the moment you look at his videos, and especially the comments within, it starts to become very clear that he isn't exactly appreciated. So what does he do? Well, in short, he's a meme channel. More specifically, he pumps out Mr. Incredible memes that weren't even funny months ago. But you see, the problem isn't that he's milking an outdated meme. Rather, the issue comes down to how he transforms the Incredibles format. Going back to December, what partly made the meme so great is that it made basic sense. The idea was that any topic the Incredibles face would decay into madness as the subject got worse in context. With Mr. Dweller's content, all it is just madness. There's no context, there's no order, it's just pure chaos. To give you an idea of just how absurd Mr. Dweller's content is, let me play you an uncanny meme back from 2021, and then compare it with his latest video. just how absurd Mr. Dweller's content is? Let me play you an uncanny meme back from 2021, and then compare it with his latest video. Do you get my point now? The content that he pumps out is just mindless, saturated eye candy for his viewers. There's just no build-up leading to each image. It's just a completely random picture with a completely random reaction. People really wanted me to play back in the first part, so I suppose it must be really good, right? Well, let's find out. Scrolling through the description, the dev states that this is a new and unique horror game involving doors. It also goes on to say that this game is an alpha, so many things are bound to change. Well, for being an alpha for over a year, it's definitely seemed to have grown a huge following, with over 250 million visits as of writing this video. Loading in, the game spawns you in a lobby where you can start the match by going into these elevators. Some of the elevators allow up to a few people, but I'm gonna be playing on single player since I hate people. So after waiting for the For instance, just look at how orderly this Incredibles video was back from December. You know what to expect from it. Mr. Incredible starts off all cheery and whatnot, only to become confused once he notices something off. And respectively, he continues to grow more and more concerned over each worrying image. This concept, and throws it all out the window. I mean, what is the context for this? He turns into a baby, then he's glitching out, becomes Dwayne Johnson. I mean, who is this? What are these edits? Each image is not still, it's always moving. It's even more unfortunate knowing that looking at his older videos, they were nowhere near the amount of chaos that his modern memes bring. He started off humble with just a few regular Incredible memes, but by April he would start to use the baby face for his thumbnails and would just keep going from there. Mr. Dweller also has a tendency to caption each picture, and sometimes he doesn't even correctly observe the image. Sometimes he'll just flat out misinterpret a certain object, as well as having broken English in general. Half the time you don't even know what he's trying to say. And maybe he doesn't either. And on top of that, Mr. Dweller also likes to promote his goal of getting to 100,000 subscribers at the end of every single video. A couple tactics he'll use to get subscribers is by complimenting his fans near the end of the video, saying 102 luck on his banner, and just saying nothing but subscribe in his about page and description under every single video. There's just no personality in this channel. All it is just a brainless, frustrating method of getting to 100,000 subscribers. And what are you even gonna do past that? Normally at the 100K mark is when channels can become verified. And naturally, YouTube would have to look at your content to see if it's okay to verify. So if Mr. Dweller even manages to get to that milestone, chances are he won't be getting verified to begin with. But that doesn't matter to him. What matters is that he needs to get to 100K. And shockingly, it's working. He's growing subscribers, fast. Doesn't matter to him how everyone thinks of him. As long as he keeps pumping out the saturated thumbnails, the mindless content, and general madness that he keeps uploading, he'll make it. I also find it funny how, according to the About page, he made the channel back in March, which by that month the meme was no longer comedic. So even in his early days, he just wasn't redeemable. And just like every other terrible YouTube channel, Mr. Dweller would eventually get into the public eye. Eventually, after a couple months, meme channels and people alike would start to notice this guy. And nowadays, whether it's through the comment section, a Reddit post, or any YouTube video with Mr. Dweller in it, you will see hundreds of people hating the guy. labeling him with things like fatherless, unfunny, and just a general negative tone towards his reputation, and with good You can call him fatherless and just how stupidly unfunny he is all you want, but Mr. Dweller doesn't care. If anything, it actually benefits him, as if he gets exposure, good or bad, he gets subscribers. And he's just gonna keep milking The Incredibles for months on end until he reaches his goal. And that is the current story of Mr. Dweller. So, you know Roblox, right? Well, of course you do. Games like Piggy, Rainbow Friends, and Pizza Simulator, one knows about them, with some of those games even having more visits than the entire human race. Wow, guys. But however, an entire genre of games that you might not know about are the various ripoffs and clones of these Roblox games on the mobile app store. Yeah, so even though Roblox is completely free, that hasn't stopped developers from just copy and pasting Roblox games into their own product. So today, I'm gonna be going on the App Store and look at popular Roblox games that aren't on Roblox. So, without further ado, let's take a look at some bland Roblox game ripoffs. So for the first game, let's take a look at Blue Monster Chapter. Wait, which chapter? Chapter 1? 2? I guess we'll never know.
We've known each other for so long.
Similar, but whatever. Reading the description, the game says, "Welcome to the playground of the Blue Monster, where many scary monsters and bad toys are waiting for you. And someone is waiting for you, too." I'm pretty sure that's the same thing. Find out secrets together while enjoying a scary time. Happy time. Huh. And as for the ratings, this one only has 2, that rounds up to a 3.5. So after telling me it was made in Unity, I was now in the menu, to which I went to the guide button saying, "To escape and win, you need to find all the toys before the rainbow can find you." Yeah, so unsurprisingly, this game is just 78 pages, as you need to collect certain objects in order to win. These objects range from toy hammers to Rubik's Cubes and megaphones. Okay, so, sounds pretty easy, right? Well, as you're about to see, this game was kind of unplayable. Why? This is as far as your camera can move. So for some godforsaken reason, the sensitivity in this game is super low, making something as basic as turning a corner really hard to do. And of course, there's my man, Bluey. Why is he yellow? His AI in this game is about as basic as you could expect, as he locks me down no matter how far away I am from him, continues to run in place, and what have you. He's also really slow too, but because of the goddamn sensitivity, he would always kill me. And not only that, if your Wi-Fi is turned on while you're playing, you'll be getting ads during gameplay, which is extremely tedious and evil. But yeah, that's about all this game has to offer. Now, had the sensitivity actually been higher, then this game might have been okay, but as it stands right now, this game is next to unplayable, so I'll be going on the second game. The second game on my list is Scary Cheese Escape Game. Which, holy crap, has over 1,000 ratings. And just like Blue Monster Chapter, I've actually already reviewed this game in my Roblox video. However, if you think that judging from the title and thumbnail that this is a game from Roblox, you are sorely mistaken, because you and I have been clickbaited. See, despite the fact that this game claims to be from Roblox, which is already dumb enough, but once you get in the game, it's absolutely nothing like the game it ripped off. And instead is this Tom and Jerry-esque game where you're a mouse and you have to run away from a spooky cat. In the description, the game states that welcome to Scary Cheese Game where you can run and escape obstacles with a big attention to the cat. Excellent interface and HD graphics, very easy to HD graphics, 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 very easy to play. And somehow, all the reviews of the game made it round to a 4.4. But unsurprisingly, the reviews are pretty upset. As you're about to see, this game was kind of unplayable. Why? This is as far as your camera can move. So for some godforsaken reason, the sensitivity in this game is super low, making something as basic as turning a corner really hard to do. And of course, there's my man, Bluey. Why is he yellow? His AI in this game is about as basic as you could expect, as he locks me down no matter how far away I am from him, continues to run in place, and what have you. He's also really slow too, but because of the goddamn sensitivity, he would always kill me. Saying things like crackhead game, clickbait, and this one review saying scary cheese mouse game restar? What? And that's it. No, I'm being for real, there's nothing else to talk about with this. I mean, I guess it's kind of cool to double jump and have a cat run in place, but this isn't what I asked for. I thought this was a Roblox game and you gave me this possibly even worse game.
It's Morbin time.
So let's just move on before I bore myself out talking about this. What a strange game. The game we're going to be playing is Doors Obby, which if you didn't know, it is from Doors. Wow. Scrolling down in the description, it says, play this insane Doors horror. You've got a perfect opportunity to find yourself in the height of Doors horror. And the fear will never leave you with cool ambience, creepy sounds, in the Doors horror net, blah 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 and so on. And just like the last game, this one has a 4.4 with over 700 ratings. With the reviews being mixed, saying either better than Roblox, or bad game, make this better, and manned. I'm not gonna lie, I gotta agree with that one. Which is understandable considering that this is literally just a Doors game for Roblox. There's very little innovation that the creator put in. There's the exact same rooms, same monsters, same mechanics, and what have you. And you know how in the Rainbow game how the sensitivity was too low? This one is, well, too janky. And plus, there's a bunch of other problems too, like multiple ads, the monsters being glitched, and no sound. In comparison with a Roblox game how you need to press a button to grab something, this one has you press anywhere you want and puts it in a really crappy inventory. One new interesting thing is how you can walk in the closet without it controlling you. But that's about the only good thing that this game has done. And also, halfway through, the game broke, as I needed a key in order to unlock this door, and when I did get the key, it still didn't open. But even if I did, I imagine this game wouldn't be much different from the original. So once more, let's just move on. And the final game that I'll be looking at is PIG Lost in Carnival. Run from the scary PIG. Huh. So, as you might have guessed, this game takes place on the carnival map on Piggy. But instead of doing things like grabbing keys, you instead grab letters to fit a word and then escape to a secret room. And looking at the description, there appears to be a storyline. We had an outage power in Carnival, and we lost our little piggy. Oh look, they spelt it right this time. You need to help the doggy police to solve the puzzles and find her using a flashlight with batteries. Wait, who's her? Piggy or the doggy? Well, at least we have a bit of lore. The only issue is that, what's the point? You're basing this game off of another game that already has a story. But whatever, let's just get started, shall we? And wow, look at the spooky Peppa Pig model. So after the dog gives us some tips, we are now put into the game. For some reason, they have once again ruined the sensitivity. Instead of being too low or stiff, you now can't even look up or down. Yay. This makes it really annoying since a lot of the letters you need to grab are no longer visible once you get close enough. You also have this flashlight here that runs out of battery after a while. And the way to recharge it is by grabbing another torch off the floor. Oh, and you know how these trees in the map, how players can't get on it? Well, not anymore. Reading the reviews, you have the typical ones saying stuff like bad story and too many ads. And just like the last game, this one also has a 4.4 with over 1,000 ratings. Who plays this stuff? Let alone give it a high review. Oh man, this game is so nuanced and atmospheric with great gameplay. I give it a 5-star. An interesting footnote that I noticed as well is that this game got updated a few weeks ago after a year-long hiatus. So I guess it's good to know that they're fixing the game. I guess. And with that, we now have reviewed the last game. Thank you, Mohammed, for this amazing masterpiece. Alright. Okay, but seriously, these games don't really have a point of existing. Roblox is free and isn't even that physically demanding to run. The only reason why I think you play these games is if you are physically banned from playing Roblox by your parents, and this is your only option. But if that's not the case, then just go play Roblox.
Oh, my f***ing cubes! You dirty little hole!
Oh boy, where do I even start with this? So back in the year 2017, a newly created horror game would soon be published, Granny. Now, despite the game having a very simple premise, and for the most part wasn't all too scary, the internet would go on to turn this little indie horror game into a phenomenon. As time would continue into 2018, Granny was so universally known that it was basically impossible not to hear of her. By 2018, her cultural status reigned similar to that of characters like Siren Head, Slenderman, and Baldi's Basics. And oh man, did people milk this game. I've said this before in a previous video of mine, but naturally with games that get too popular too fast, the internet would go on to milk this game in every possible way. YouTube videos, art, and merchandise. However, I'm not going to be talking about those specific stems of the Granny franchise. Instead, I want to talk about a niche stem that Granny had spawned, the ripoffs. Some of these clones range from simple okay games to absolute fever dreams. So, without further ado, come join me in this video. As today, let's take a look at some of the many atrocious Granny knockoffs. So for our first, let's take a look at Blocky Granny Mod Chapter. And not even looking at it for a second, you can already tell it's gonna be interesting. So basically, the game is just Granny, but now it's Minecraft with a few modifications. In the menu, you get to choose the difficulty of Granny from easy to hard, as well as being able to select what monster you'll be running from. Which is kind of strange. And loading in, it gives us a few tips to survive the night. You have 5 days to escape. The day starts at 8 AM, and the day ends at midnight. If Blocky Granny catches you, she will knock you out and the day ends. Good luck. So as I've just said, this game is just straight up Granny, plain and simple. As the map is the exact same, just with an HD Minecraft texture. There's even the same traps, like how the floor breaks, and holy crap, there's physics in this game. So Granny in this game is, serviceable, I guess. There isn't really that much complexity to the AI. Once she spots you, she will continue to chase you forever until you hide under a bed or go in a locker, to which you'll get a 30-second ad about some other mobile game. And the worst part is, the moment you exit out of an ad, it will just give you another one when trying to go back into the game. Thankfully, turning off the Wi-Fi solved this issue. But it's still annoying nonetheless. Granny also tends to get stuck in doorways, as she seems to suffer from stage 4 dementia. However, I actually think that this was a deliberate design choice, as the dementia might be canonical since she's rather old.
Deep lore.
One of the pros in this game, in contrast to Granny, is that you can carry multiple items at once. And some items even give multiple of the same thing for some reason. There's even a dark mode too, which just makes everything dark. Duh. Looking at the App Store, this game somehow has 100 ratings that rounds up to a 3.6. With the reviews being very mixed, saying things like good but not, and very addicting. How? In the description, the game reads, explore the huge house and don't get caught. Hide from scary Granny and escape from her. Reveal all her secrets. Enter the block building and complete all the tasks. It's a hide and seek game. Wow, I didn't know that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This game is just Granny, but you can carry multiple items at once, and it's Minecraft. I think that's the third time I've said this in just 2 minutes, so I'm just gonna move on before I repeat myself more. The second game we'll be playing is Play for Granny 3 Chapter. Oh man, I sure can't wait to indeed play for Granny 3 Chapter. So at first, I thought this game might have been an actual decent spin-off, as the game has you play as Granny and has you run around chasing people, but as you'll soon learn, this game is probably the worst one we'll be looking at. Scrolling down, the game states, new game with Grandma 3. Actually, this game has been out for over a year, but whatever. Now you will play as a grandmother and prevent the prisoner from escaping from home. Listen carefully and observe the clues. They will tell you where the prisoner is now. Alright then. Thanks, Andrei Denisov. And looking at the ratings, this has over 800 that rounds up to a 2.3. And unlike the last game, these reviews make a lot more sense, saying things like don't bother downloading, I'm deleting right after this, and no! So with that out of the way, no! So the first thing you'll notice is that, yeah, the map is the exact same as the one from Granny, with the only catch being your Granny. But despite being the hunter, this game wasn't fun at all. The first problem that I have with this game is the ads. What a surprise. For unlike a lot of games where ads play just by clicking a button or completing a level, get this game shows ads during gameplay. This means that every 30 seconds when you're trying to play the game, you will get an ad about some piano app. That is next level evil. Stripping away the player's ability to even play the game is awful. Now, this could just be me, but when I tried to turn off the Wi-Fi to stop the ads, they still played. But whatever, that's not even part of the game. Are there any other problems? Well, yes. Eventually, after finding the dude, who was just hiding under a bed for some reason, he proceeded to run around the kitchen and upstairs over and over again. But anywho, I now went up and tried to hit him and... what? Missed? Yeah, so once you hit him the first time, the player has a short shield to block the attacks. And even when the shield wears off, you can sometimes miss point blank. It also doesn't help that the bat took several hits just to kill him, and that a dumb ad played just when I was catching up to him. Great. But finally, after a couple minutes, the bot died, and that was it. So in conclusion, this game was bad. Not only was the gameplay clunky and tedious, but the game actively showed ads when you were trying to play. So yeah, game poopy. So for the third game, let's take a look at Granny Arabic, which I'm sure the title already explains it. In the description, the game states that Granny House Simulator is now available in Arabic, and as for the ratings, it's gone over 15 with a 4.1 star review. Okay, so believe it or not, I'm not actually that fluent in Arabic, but judging from the big yellow bun, I'm pretty sure this begins the game. And I was right, so now we're in, and wow, it is in fact just Granny Arabic. The map, gameplay, and feel is legit just Granny, but with a couple of reskins. Instead of Granny having a white dress, it's now a black robe. And around the map, you'll find credits saying that this game was made by Burton, I don't know how to say it.
Burton.
As well as a few new paintings that contain funny Arabic memes. The only issue I have with this game is that, despite being the Arabic version of Granny, the game occasionally uses the English language, which I think confuses everyone. It kinda has the same vibes from something like T-Series, as even though the song titles are in English, the language is in Hindi. Because yes. But yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. This game is legit just Granny, but it's Arabic, has a couple of glitches, and has silly ads. Yay. So I'll be moving on to the next game now. Here's some live footage of me playing the game before I go. Alright. Next game I'll be playing is Horror Granny House Escape 3D, Scary Evil Neighbors mod game. So in contrast to the last three games, this one for once doesn't use the Granny model, and instead has you run around a mansion while a 4'11" spooky grandmother crawls at you. In the reviews, there's only one with it saying, well, I like the first Granny game, but this one you can't do practice mods, so I think you should get the first Granny game and practice on that. Then do this cause this is a bit hard. Look, the guy just wants practice mode and you couldn't even do that. And this game has over 11 ratings with a This game has over 11 ratings with a 2.7, with the description reading, "This is Scary Granny 3D. Escape Granny's haunted house in town and you have to explore the house of rabbit horror game find next door Granny neighbors suspicious activities." I don't want to read this anymore. In fact, I actually seen a comment not too long ago saying that the reason that the description is so weird is because they're using it as tag words so that you can play it. But judging from the ratings, it looks like it didn't even work either. Anyways, now the game begins in a level-based system. But compared to the description, we're not escaping Granny's house. We're going into it, and then escaping it. Because we're a crazy lunatic that likes barging into old people's homes and stealing the crap. And that's all this game is. And on top of that, the game also completely baby feeds you where you need to go, as there are arrows pointing in the right direction. The grandma in this game is also pretty dumb. She tends to walk very slowly and doesn't see you half the time, which I guess makes sense since she's rather old, right? Well, then when she does spot you, Granny gets on all fours and starts chasing you like a madman. And sometimes when she is chasing you, she'll just forget you half the time.
Ah, she's old, she'll forget.
This game also has a tendency to, break light physics. For some reason, particularly on doors, it would just spaz in a white light if you looked at it funny. Some of the doors also tend to just completely reset their animation and shut completely. And as for the objectives, go inside, get a key, touch a generator, grab a torch, and leave. Excellent storytelling, guys. So in conclusion, yeah, don't play this game. And now we're at the end of this video. So in conclusion, these games are kinda pointless. Seriously, just go play Granny instead. Now, before I go, I would like to thank you all for 150k subscribers. Because I like big numbers. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you sometime in the future. Goodbye.
morning to you ladies, my name is Jacksepticeye and welcome to Granny. My granny never looked like that. I mean, she might have looked like that in the morning.
Oh, my f***ing cubes! You dirty little hole!
Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on all